So, welcome to the Weightpull Podcast. Aaron. How do you
Aaron.
pronounce it? Aaron. Yeah.
Aaron. Yeah.
Aaron. Yeah. It's the typical way. The two A's pulls me off
They
a
have
little
that
bit.
joke.
Yeah.
Call me AA Ron. Yeah.
Aaron. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Well, you're one in the line of Americans that I interview now. And as I've said for the last episodes, I presume that the Americans know who you are. But and some Europeans maybe, but let's start with you introducing yourself and
Okay. Yeah. So I'm Aaron Wise. I live in just out of Salt Lake City, Utah. I'm the president. If you don't know me, I'm the president of Salt Lake Terrier Association, ADBA club over here in Utah. So I'm the president of that club. Most people in this dog community, probably not that I'm famous, but know who I am because we travel around a lot. We try to make it to a lot of shows, participate in a couple organizations for their Weightpull stuff. So yeah, most people know me, or at least know my wife, and then they know me.
Yeah. And we've been seeing you also in Bullimax shows on YouTube. Yeah.
Yes, you have. I just started my 1-year corporate sponsor. They sponsored me and my wife for a year for just started February 1st. So I had made a post recently with some of their products that they sent me, and so now we're sponsored by Bullimax.
Awesome.
For sure.
Awesome. Yeah.
Thumbs up to them.
Yeah, they are a great sponsor and a great advocate for the sport. It seems
they are. They and it's not just hyperbole, and I'm not just promoting them because I've worked with Brian, their cinematographer, oftentimes, visited with him, invited him to our Salt Lake Terrier show. Before they sponsored me, I mean, they would donate to our club and to other clubs. I mean, they do a really cool thing with those videos and promote this breed or the sporting events, not just the American. I own American Pit Bull Terriers, but they promote the sporting events for the dogs, and they've just been awesome about it, for sure. So I'm happy.
Yeah, it's really, really nice videos. I hope a lot of people watch them and get inspired by them. Yeah,
for sure.
So let's start at the beginning. How did you end up with dogs, and how did you find, especially weight pulling?
So I have to give this to my wife. My wife, she grew up with pit bulls from a child, right? Her parents had them, her dad had them, her brothers had them, and so she's always had pit bulls. And my wife and I've been married for almost 23 years now, and so I've had pit bulls for 23 years. My wife has been with the breed like 40, 50 years, right? So she's the one that introduced me to the breed. She kept telling me about how her dad had got her one, or like they had pit bulls, but her dad got her pit bull, had it flown up from like the South Carolina or somewhere, because we're originally from Montana, up in the northwest corner, kind of up by Canada. We're up from Kalispell. We moved here like 7 years ago. So she wanted a real American Pit Bull Terrier from a real breeder. So I did some research, found somebody actually in the state of Montana that produced and bred sporting American Pit Bull Terrier dogs. We got together with her, went to where she had her puppies, so she could actually like interview us, like if we were okay to have the dog. If you're a dog person, you're not peddling them, you're finding good homes for them and people that do them. So we met Against the Wind Kennels is where we got our first, as a husband and wife, dog. Got a pit bull from them, and she told us about, because my wife Dina, she just wanted a pit bull, right? She wanted another pit bull, and we met Joy and her husband at the time, Ivan, and they told us, like, oh, look at this, and took us into their room where they had their trophies and their ribbons and all the stuff, and they told us, oh yeah, we do this and we do weight pull and we do they're starting these other sporting events and confirmation. We're like, oh, that's really cool. And we didn't know that they did. I didn't know they did that stuff. I don't think my wife did either. And so we got the puppy from them. And, I think I went to a dog show with me and my son. My wife didn't go, but we took our puppy Leonidas at the time. He was like 8 months old, so wasn't quite old enough to weight pull in competition. And we went to our first show in Idaho. We were living in Montana and went to the Snake River show in Idaho. And I think that was in like 2012. So that would have been my first weight pull. And that's where I saw weight pull with my own eyes. And, just amazing. After the show, put my puppy on the track, and we did him in the show ring. But put him on the track, and that's where it all started.
Yeah. Yeah. So the first pit bull for you was 23 years ago, but you started weight pulling 2012, approximately. Yeah.
Yeah. And then it's not an excuse, but like I said, we weren't in it yet, right?
No,
like you have
exactly.
to get the itch. And we lived what at the time seemed like so far away. Like if you're familiar with states and where we were in Montana, like to get out of Montana is like where we live is like an 8 or 9 hour drive just to get out of the state of Montana to try to go somewhere. So we weren't really committed to, showing and doing stuff with the dogs. But then after that, I don't think we went to another show for about 5 years. I don't think I went back to another show. So that was my first show. And then back in 2017 or 18, we started back, and then we've been logging in 100,000 miles probably since then, at least. Yeah.
Yeah. One thing that's very clear is that you drive a lot to go to the shows. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. We didn't even drive between the ADBA shows this year and the UPF shows, which are the two. Those are the two that I pull with. Haven't pulled with any other APA or IWPA or anything. A UPF and ADBA, they keep me busy enough, and it's enough traveling. But I did over like 22,000 miles this year.
Wow.
I don't know what that is in kilometers, but it's
a long way. Times 1.6. So it's a lot.
Yeah.
The
way I describe it to people when they ask me about it, like, people always, do you win money? And I'm like, no, I don't actually win. It costs me a lot of money.
Yeah.
But, there's people that they find enjoyment with their partner or whatever, and the dogs, that this is what other people will go camping, or they have boats and they go boating. And some people that have dogs might do the same. They might do other things too, but this is what we do with Bonnie. My kids have done it with us. This is what we do. That's our vacation stuff, dog show stuff, weight pull, top dog. That's what we do. Other people do other things. They boat, they camp, they hunt, they fish, they do everything. We do dog sports.
Yeah. Yeah, and you get to meet a lot of people and a lot of good friends, I presume, during the years. Yeah. It makes it easier to travel as well.
It does, and I would really like at some point, I've got to get across the ocean over there. I met some cool people, online, and then at the convention and at some shows, I met Jennifer O and her brother and Elisa from over in the Germany area. They're from over there. They're just some great people, and I just I'd love to come over and visit sometime. Would be a great plan to come and check it out somewhere else, in the world to go see it. But the people, it's for the most part. I mean, I might be the bad apple to some people. Some people may not. Some people may not care for certain people, personalities, but 99% of the time, I would actually say more than that. That it's a good group of people. We all have common likes. I mean, there's competition. Usually healthy competition, but there's not a lot of dislike in between us, I don't think. And that's what makes it enjoyable. I don't want to spend that kind of money and drive to shows and take time off of work and go somewhere and be miserable and bickering. If it's like that, won't go to that show if it turns that way, or would eventually turn me off of doing it, because I'm too old for that stuff. I don't want to fight with people and argue and be miserable and listen to people complain about everybody. I'm not into that.
No, I totally agree. And I've been away from it a couple of years, but when I go to shows, it feels the itch is getting back each time. And and it's a lot of people that you've been friends with for a decade. And the only way to meet them pretty much is at the shows. So,
right.
Yeah. And so it gets important. And as you said, this is the type of holidays that you have. You don't go boating or whatever. Yeah.
Right.
This is the stuff. Yeah.
We're a little different breed.
Yeah. Exactly.
We're social outcasts on some sort, and we come together over dogs. So it works out pretty good. And these people, some of them, for, whatever apparent reason, just the way people get together, some of these people become like family, for real. Like, you travel through their state and they're like, oh, even if it's not dog related, if for some reason you're going somewhere, they're like, oh, you need a place. You're coming through Denver. Hey, you're welcome to stay at my, come to my house and stay at my house. And it's nice to meet people like that. I have friends like that, and I'm the same way. I'm like, oh, you're coming to Utah this year for nationals. I've had people tent in my yard. I'm like, yeah, come stay in my, my yard house will be filled with 18 dogs or something, but just a weekend.
Yeah. But that's the nice part. And it feels like if you stick to the sport or if you stick with dogs that long with whatever sport or conformation you're into, eventually you're going to find a lot of good friends because, you have kind of the same mindset if you do it for that long.
Yeah. You see some great dogs, and you build some great friendships with people, and you win some, you lose some, and you get to see some of the best. I don't have the best dogs in the country, right? I have good dogs, and I understand where I'm at, but I don't lose all the time. I don't win all the time, but I'm okay with it, and you meet the people and you get to watch some of these amazing handlers and amazing dogs perform. It's just, it's super exciting. That's the fun part for it.
Yeah. And it's way different to be there in person to see these amazing, feats that these dogs do sometimes. And it's nice to see it online in videos, but to be there when that amazing pull is done, it's something else.
It is. It's just, I don't even know how you describe the excitement, and everybody's cheering and clapping and yelling the dog's name, and they're just inching that out. And that's something. And it's hard to describe. And you can watch it online, but it is totally different when you're watching it happen in person, for sure.
Yeah, it's way different. It's as you said, you can watch it online and that's cool, but to see it in person is just something else. Yeah. Awesome. Well, so you were at the first show in 2012, but you lived way far away from any to be a part of it. Yeah, but did you start training then, or was it just something that was laying around in your mind?
I don't think we didn't really start training our dogs. That dog I took to that show, we didn't start training him for competitions till he was probably 3 or 4, and he was like 8 months of that age. We kept him fit, you know what I mean? But they were never performing athletes till that. And then we actually started back in on him. We started with that dog. Actually was a really good top dog, which is a different event than Weightpull. But then that got us back into going to shows. And of course we would Weightpull him, and met some guys from the UPF that lived in Utah. Judd Munns, was a super great guy if people don't know him, but he lives up in north of Salt Lake, and he would have UPF shows, and we would actually travel down to his Weightpull there, and that's where we started back into Weightpull was at. And then we got back in the ADBA, moved a little further south in Montana, southeast into the Bozeman, stayed there for a couple years. And then I think 7 or 8 years ago, we really got back into doing dogs and wanted to do that more. And the kids had grown closer to adulthood. Some of them did move out, and we made a conscious decision. One of the reasons we moved to Salt Lake was to be more centrally located so we could do dog stuff, because we'd made that was one of our, non-negotiables of moving somewhere, is we wanted to go somewhere where we could go, in different directions from this country and be able to branch out and go to dog shows. And that's what we started doing.
Yeah.
And that was really one of the deciding factors. I mean, we had job opportunities and an opportunity for a house where we could have our dogs, because some places,
yeah,
I got 5 pit bulls in my house right now.
Yeah.
They're not everybody, and that's probably less than a lot of people, but sometimes it's hard. So that opportunity came up. So that's why we made the conscious decision. But it was part of our decision to move here was so we could do more things. And then that branched out into joining the Salt Lake Terrier Club, the ADBA Club, which great. And that blossomed into, I became the president, 4 years ago. We just had elections again in November, and it's a 3-year term or whatever. Yeah. And so I'm still, for 3 more years, I'll be the president of the Salt Lake Terrier Club. And so that really, cemented us into the dog showing organization. Being the ADBA is based out of Salt Lake City, right? That's where the ADBA headquarters is, in Salt Lake City. This club is not the ADBA; it is an ADBA club, but we're real close with, a lot of my members are board members and sitting members of the ADBA are in the Salt Lake Terrier Club. So that really threw us right into the fire. We're the face of the Salt Lake Terrier Club. So yeah.
Is it a lot of work to be the president?
The club?
Yeah.
I could say it's a lot of work, and it is, but it's not a one man job. I mean, I have all the support of the non-officer holding positions, whatever. We have 28, 30 members, something like that. And it's a lot of work, the paperwork side of putting shows on, getting trophies ordered and stuff like that. But that's all. It's group people. They'll have an idea for a shirt design, or we'll get together and decide on trophies and prices, and then but it's a lot of work to put a show on, for sure. Yeah. And we're gonna do we're doing a little post for our club, but we're hosting nationals this year over Labor Day weekend here in Salt Lake. So we'll have the ADBA nationals, but I couldn't do it without, clubs that only have a few members. I don't feel bad for them. That's not the right word. That's a lot of work when you don't have a lot of people to put on a show, whether it's UPF, ADBA, it's a lot of work. So that comes back to the people that go to these shows. They may not be members of your club, but they come in and they help unload the track or load the track or set it up and move the bricks and help with the whiteboard. And, that's where the community of dog people come together. But is it a lot of work to run a club? I don't know if it's a lot of work. It's just, it's something that we do together. Somebody, I guess, has to be the head of it. It doesn't make me the end all say all of everything that goes on in the club, but I guess somebody has to wear the title. And I think I do a pretty good job at my position there. So yeah. We have a good show.
Yeah, that's nice. And it's is this the Nationals? Is that the only show this year that you're gonna host?
Yeah, it probably will be the only ADBA show that we host. I'll probably do some UPF polls at my house, but it'll be the only ADBA sanctioned show in Utah this year. It'll be Nationals. We could host another show. But we'll try to make the nationals as best as we can make it. So our funds and the money and the effort and the time and the rent and the facility is going to go into making it as good as we can, as good as we can make it. So that'll probably be the only show that Utah hosts this year.
Yeah.
Yeah. Usually we'll do a regular show, which will be, 3 or 4 confirmations, 2 weight pulls, and then 2 top dog events usually. But this year we're just going to do nationals.
Yeah. But the biggest show of the year. So yeah. It's not just, but
it's got to be, you have your other shows, nothing. And I don't mean no slight, but you got your regular season shows, just like over here is what is today? It's the Super Bowl today, right? Over here in the United States, Super Bowl. They have all the regular season games, and I know you understand this. So those are all, but when the championship comes around, just like UPF championship, when it comes around, that's when everything has to be elevated. You want everything to be this much better,
Yeah.
So that's what we strive for. So hopefully we can pull it off.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of planning to make it run smooth, and it's the ADBA nationals is also confirmation and top dog. So it's a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. It's more going on for sure.
Yeah.
And hopefully, hopefully we'll draw I've talked to a lot of my friends from East Coast to West Coast. They all committed. Yeah, we'll be at nationals, and it's far enough away as far as timing from the other. I mean, like I said, the APA or whatever. I don't know when their stuff is. I'm a rep for the UPF as well, in the United States. So UPF nationals is going to be the middle of October, and ADBA nationals will be at the beginning of September. So it's enough distance for people that want to try to go to both to plan. Last year they were only a couple weeks apart. Like we went to Alabama for ADBA nationals, turned around, drove all the way back to Utah, which I don't know. I think I put 6,000 miles on that trip, round trip, something like that. Came back home for a week and then turned around and went back to Kansas for UPF nationals. And that definitely makes it tough for, some of these people with great dogs to try to go to both, nationals in a year when they're that close together. So I think this will help people be able to go to both of them.
Yeah. Yeah. And you need a couple of weeks between to peak again, so to speak.
Yeah.
And,
right. Yeah. Give your dogs a little break, and, no excuses. Unless you live there, like this year, I won't have to travel for nationals for ADBA, right? So my dogs aren't going to have that travel time. And I think, I've been to enough shows now that I have showed up at places, and whatever happened, whether they got something out of the grass when you watered them, I've showed up at places where my dogs are sick, like, diarrhea, throwing up or whatever. So it does happen to dogs. And so if that happens, maybe your dog showed up at one of them and got sick on the way. It happens. They have enough time to plan and come back at the UPF national.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and that's nice. Yeah. That's really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was actually looking on both nationals, looking at what the prices for the airfare should be. But it would be really nice to get over and watch one of the nationals. But I'm not sure it's going to be this year. But sometime I'm going to come over. It's
a good time.
Yeah, I can imagine. It looks good online, so in person it's going to be way better. I'm sure.
Yeah.
So
I was going to say, so when I got back into really into weight pulling, or started getting back into it, I went to, we had just moved down to, I say Salt Lake, but we live just south of Salt Lake City, like 40 minutes south, but it's all greater Salt Lake. And we went over to the Bulldogs of the Rocky show in Colorado, and we went over to that show. And we entered the 2 pit bulls we had at the time. We put them in weight pull because we've done some weight pull, but they weren't competitors, right? We just did it. I mean, because if you don't just do it, you never start, right? You have to start somewhere. So we would go and we inked them, and we met met and watched some dogs there, and we met a guy from Texas that had some. It was chaos. A guy, Richard Hughes, out of Texas, had chaos pits, and we met him and we watched his dog Junior pull. And at the time, we were like, "Oh my gosh, this dog is amazing!" It was one of those, you just, "Oh my God, look at that dog giving it everything." And we started visiting with him, and then we got like our first Weightpull bred dog came from this guy from Texas. Her name is Chaos Texas Sweepy. That's my dog I got from him off of one of his OFRN lines. And that's when we started to learn that, oh, you want a Weightpull dog, not that you can't have a non-bred Weightpull dog do Weightpull and be successful, but my belief, for the little knowledge I have, if you want a sports car, you go shopping for a sports car. If you want a Weightpull dog, you find people with Weightpull bred dogs. And I believe that American Pit Bull Terrier, which, like I said, is what we have, I believe that should be an all-around sporting dog. It should be able to do multiple things, and a lot of our dogs do, but our Weightpull dogs excel at Weightpull. And we have our top dog she's a great little Weightpull dog, but she excels at another sport. I mean, and we got her specifically for the top dog events. But when you want a Weightpull dog, I think it's great advice from people to find somebody that or that knows somebody that can put you in touch with people who breed and have bred successful Weightpull dogs. I believe it's in the blood. I believe it wholeheartedly, that not that you can't get like a prodigy from some just unbelievably athletic dog and put them in a harness and they'll pull for you and do good and compete and be winners. But I really do believe that it comes from specific breeding, and then training, of course, comes into it. But so that's where we got our first Weightpull dog.
Yeah, man,
she was great.
I agree with you, and it's been really interesting the last year when I've been interviewing guys from overseas and talking about especially the Weightpull bred American Pit Bull Terriers, because we don't have them over here, especially not in Scandinavia. We have none of them. So down in
because
Europe,
they don't allow them.
Oh, well, no, because nobody have ever bred Weightpull dogs here in Scandinavia. At least we have a Staffordshire Bull Terrier breeder that's more or less focused on weight pulling, or maybe 2 or 3 actually when I think about it. But all the other dogs are from agility breedings or just conformation breedings that do weight pull. At least here in Scandinavia, it looks a little bit different down in the rest of Europe, where there are more American Pit Bull Terriers, but not the specially bred kind for weight pulling. And you can see it in the style. It's something else when you look at the weight pulling over there, because the style and form of the dogs it's way different, and it's really interesting to see. Yeah.
So, and I like I said, I think it is, a lot of it is breeding. Like if it's just like if you're doing conformation dogs, you're going to go get a dog that's bred from conformation standards. That, I mean, it just makes sense genetically. That standard, if you breed it with another genetically conformation superior dog, you're going to get the complements of both dogs. So, and I also believe that conformationally structured dogs, and I know I keep saying it, but I speak for American Pit Bull Terrier because that's my passion. That's the dog I know. And there's other great pull dogs that aren't American Pit Bull Terriers. I'm not saying that they're the only pull dog out there, but when I speak of it, that's what I know about. But I believe that the conformationally structured dog is very important also into producing the line that becomes great weight pull dogs, because of the history of the dog what it was originally bred for. That, I believe, all plays into making a great weight pull dog. Like, you wouldn't want to, and I could be wrong. This is just my opinion. Like, you wouldn't want to necessarily, in my belief, that if you had a dog that was conformationally structurally put together where the hindquarters was way off, right? Like, that may not translate into breeding into making a great weight pull dog because it's structurally not put together the way it should be built, like as a dog. So I think conformation definitely plays into the making of a great weight pull dog. It may not look great in the show ring as opposed to some of these grand champion dogs, but it needs to be structurally put together, legs to height to width, square body dog,
Yeah.
That's just my opinion.
Yeah, but I share your opinion when it comes to that, and it's, well, as you said, they might not win the confirmation, but it's still the standard. It comes from somewhere, and it has a good it's a good standard to start from, so to speak.
Yeah. And I mean, you could take a conformationally standard dog, or I use an American Pit Bull Terrier, and put a good harness on them, which I think is also important, is to find a harness that fits your dog, find somebody that will make them for you, and, stick with that person, and you guys can collaborate back and forth to make the adjustments you need to make for your dog. But you could take that conformationally standard dog and put a harness on them, and because of the breed of the dog in the center, you can train it to be a good, even maybe a great weight pull dog. But you have to have somewhere to start, and you have to start. You have to start somewhere.
Yeah.
So wherever you get to start, I mean, I hope people who watch this or listen to it, they're not like, oh, I got to find somebody who's got, the best weight pull dogs, and I have to get one of their puppies. And get a dog, start with a dog, and you'll find that you'll just love the sport of it if you're into it and you're into dogs. And you'll find the places. I've developed friendship with what I consider some of the best weight pull breeders and handlers in the country. I think I'm friends with some of the best in the country. That's what I think. Maybe there's others. And so as you become immersed in the sport, you start meeting these people, and pretty soon you're talking, dogs, and they're doing the breeding, and you're talking about, oh, it'd be nice to have one of those puppies, and it, and now I got 5 of these in my house. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So you compete with all 5, or?
The 4 of them I compete with. The one that I originally started with in 2012, he's 13 or 14 years old now. And he's retired.
Yeah.
He doesn't compete no more. To be honest, I don't know that it's related. I think he's had a great life, but I think he's got arthritis pretty bad in his back hips. His back legs have kind of gone out, but he lives a good life, and he gets to just, he doesn't compete.
No.
But the other 4,
the
other 4 I compete with. Yeah.
Yeah. When you're 13, you get a little bit aches and pains here and there, and you get to be retired and just enjoy life. Yeah.
And I have seen some people that had their older dogs that are in better shape than him that still go to shows, but I don't know that they're really, and I don't mean any slight by it. I don't know if they're really competitors. And I think they know that, you know what I mean? They bring their dog out because their dog still can do it. And I believe these dogs want to do something. So it makes them, if they could pass away hanging off a spring pole or on the weight pull drive, I think the dog would be happy. I don't know.
Yeah. I think so as well. I competed until my dog was 9, and then he went. Unfortunately, I had to put him down when he was 9.5, something like that. But he loved it all the way to the end, and I think, as you said, a lot of these dogs, they like to do this all the way to the end if they can. And
I think if they could die doing it, they'd be happy.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
And I also think, like I don't know is that my dogs love to weight pull. Like, I don't know that they love to weight pull, right? There are certain things that they do love to do. They do weight pull without being forced to do it.
Yeah.
And that might come out sounding like I'm forcing my, I think they do it because they like to do sporting stuff, and they have that bond with me and my wife or whatever. And we've trained them and asked them, and they're also bred to do that. Do they jump out of, do they jump out of their kennels and run over and sniff their harness and try to put their weight pull harness on? No, they do not do that. But they don't, I don't, I don't have to tie them in a corner and put it on them either. But so I don't know that my dogs love to weight pull, but a couple of them, as puppies, when I start training them, you put the harness on them and they go right down the track, and you just take it easy, right? You ease them into it. And my first weight pull dog taught me way more than I ever was teaching that dog. She taught me so much more, and she probably could have been a much better weight pull dog than I produced out of her because of my lack of experience, right? Like the dog can only do as good as I allow it to do. And I think sometimes as handlers, like especially when I first, and still, I don't claim to be a great handler at all. I do my best, and I have good friends, but I learned a lot from my first weight pull dog. It taught me a lot that I brought into my next dog, which has turned out to be a pretty good, in my opinion, because it's my dog.
Yeah,
right?
of course.
He's a pretty good weight pull dog. I got a third in UPF nationals with him this year. He's just turned 2 years old, and he pulled like just under 9,000, like 868 pounds, 8,648 pounds, something like that. But I'll tell you, that was only good enough to get him a third, right? So there was some better dogs there for sure.
Yeah.
Joni Albros had one that I think beat me. Or no, maybe I beat Joni. I don't remember. I think I did beat Joni for third, but her dog, I think it was a little older. Like it was a little older in years, and she was like it was getting its last years out of it, I think. But it was still only good enough to get a third at 8,600 pounds. It only got, and I got beat by like Tokyo and some other smaller dogs.
Yeah.
They out pulled me by a long ways, but they were smaller. But still happy with that,
What weight classes do you competing with?
So we've got a new puppy named the Book of Ruth, and she's from Funny Man Kennels from Emmanuel. We got her. He did a breeding with Brian Hosfeld with Tokyo and Max, and they had pups. And I have one of those pups, and she'll be a year, March 29th. We pulled her, went out to Brian Hosfeld's in Kansas just before Christmas for it was more of a people get together, and we brought our dogs for a weight pull. It was a lot of fun. It was a blast. And she's 25 pounds. She's a little tiny dog, and so she's my lightest dog. She's probably going to stay. I mean, she's almost a year old, and she's not going to get, she might fill out a little bit, but she'll be in that 20-pound class area. And then we've got the Book of Esther, and she is in that 35 to 45-pound class, somewhere in there. And then I got Moses, he'll pull anywhere from, I pulled at UPF in the 60-pound at nationals, but he usually runs in that lower, 50 to, I can get him up to 60 if I need to, but so I kind of cover all three.
Yeah. You got
those three.
The spectra there. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I got my Teos Texas Sweet Peach. She's 30, if she was in shape, she's like a 36-pound dog too. So she's right in that same one with Esther.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I got little ones, some middle ones. Oh yeah. Yeah. When that class is stacked. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah. I looked at the results from the UPF Nationals, just a couple of days ago, just to remind myself that, like the class 30 to 40 pounds, yeah, it's amazing, and it's hard to believe the numbers when you see them because it's so much weight.
It is, and
Yeah.
and that's what gets you when you're watching them in person pull. When you're like, oh my gosh, that
Yeah.
dog's a, whether it was Ron and dogs from Texas and his wife, I don't know why I just Leanne,
Yeah.
watching Piglet or any of their little dogs pull, or Tigger, and Brian Hosfeld always, and Melinda always come out with amazing dogs. Emmanuel, Trinity. I mean, there's, and I'm not leaving. I don't mean to leave anybody out. There's just so many people that I can't name all those people with those dogs in that weight class that are just, I mean, losing is never great, but when you're talking to even compete with some of these dogs, it is just such, I mean, even when you're getting third or fifth place, which I have taken plenty of times, and your dog is giving it everything your dog is able to give it, and you watch these dogs, it's a tight competition for sure. I mean, I want to say you can't be disappointed in fourth or fifth place or whatever, and you shouldn't be, because even at that rate, that is better than, loads of dogs around the country. I mean, it's a stacked class, and I don't know. I'm competitive to like winning's great. I mean, that's awesome, right? That's why everybody does it, because you want to win. And it's probably sounds corny, but to be honest, I've got more sportsmanship awards than most people, because I'm one of the best losers there is. I really am. But I really just enjoy watching the dogs and trying to learn and train, and then again, the people that you get to go do it with, and watch these dogs do what they do. Do I want to win? Yeah, I want to win. But in reality, sometimes I don't have, and I'm not. I've been only weight pulling really since 2017, 2018. So I'm going on 10 years. Some of these people have been doing this for 20 years, and of course they have better dogs than me and train better than I do. But I try to pick it up and pass it on to people. Like, you're more than welcome to come to my house anytime you want. It actually makes me pull better, because if somebody's coming over, honestly, I train more, and it's just, it works out better when more people want to do it with you.
Yeah, for sure. And it's the discipline to do all the training. It's easier when you have a crew with you.
Yeah, when you have somebody to hold you accountable, like, hey, we're pulling dogs this weekend, right?
Yeah.
And I, on that same note, I believe that your dogs need a break. I think your dogs need a break. I mean, it doesn't mean they gain 15 or 20 pounds and, laying on the couch and turn into a football shape. But I don't know any professional sport that athletes don't have an off season, right? Whether I'm big into MMA, right?
Yeah.
Those guys have down times between fights. The football or soccer, they have an off season. Baseball has an off season. I think all these dogs, I think, to get them perform well, like you spoke about earlier, there's a peak, and you can only stay at your peak in whatever it is, whether you're a boxer or whatever you do, a runner. There's a peak. You can reach that, and you can hang for a little while, and then you need to drop off and let muscles rebuild and can come at it again. And so I think an off season, and that's what happens for us in December to April, March or April. Our dogs, I know people say I don't train my dogs or what. My dogs, I got 2 dog mills in my house. You know what I mean? They don't see the mill. They don't do much. They go in and out. It's been nice enough this year. I was just outside actually pulling Ruth on the track a few minutes ago before we started this. So I've started back in. We're supposed to go to a show. We'll go to a show in Arizona in March, and that'll be a kind of our off the couch starting back into the season. And then, so that's when we start. But I give my dogs from December to March anyway. And March literally usually is, because where we are, it's usually been normal. It's usually a winter here, right? But this year, it's 60 degrees out today out here at my house in Salt Lake City. So it's snowed, I think, twice this year here, and it hasn't even on the ground. There's some in the mountains. So it hasn't really been winter, but usually the wintertime is an off season. And usually a friend of mine, Koo, does a UPF show been in Nevada, but this year it's going to be in Arizona. It's called March Madness. That's usually my, for real, off the couch. Brought my dogs, put them in harnesses, and that's where we start our season at.
Yeah. So, but when the dogs are young or puppies, then you train a little bit more, or do you have the same philosophy?
No, I have the last three, these last three puppies, and it's gotten a little bit different with each one because I learned a little more with each one, right? But
Yeah.
I put my harnesses on my dog's 8-9 weeks old. It's not work. It's putting a harness on,
Yeah.
right? And I've learned that from other people. Imprint your dog early, and it was much easier to do that with these dogs than when I started training my Leonidas at 4 or 5 years old. I mean,
Yeah.
you meet the people that, oh, I'd like to try Weightpull. My dog pulls really hard on the leash, and I'm like, well, that doesn't translate over to. It normally doesn't. And I don't discourage them, but you put a harness on them and see how that does.
Yeah.
So with puppies, I have learned to start when they're little. I put a harness on them. We run around the house. They get used to wearing it, kind of. And, they do their little puppy thing and flip around, try to choose a spreader bar, and you got to get them to stop doing that. And then I have learned over the last couple puppies that it's been winter times when I've got the dogs. The one before this one, and at my work, I just take my dog to work with me every day, and I'm able to do that, and it gets slow what I do for a living. And I bring chain and drag them in my shop for a little while. Just at first, it's on concrete, which isn't good for their nails, but it's like 3 pounds or whatever.
Yeah.
It drags really easy on concrete. They get used to having something that makes noise behind them, and then progress as they get older. I start taking them outside at work during the day, and at lunch or whatever, I'll go drag out in the field by my work with more weight. And then, so that's how I start my puppies. Is I just put them in a harness and start training them, and then as soon as I can, I get them a little track time when they're older. I don't know, about 4 or 5 months. I probably have them at least out with an empty cart. And then, it all starts there, and you start putting bricks on.
Yeah. And when it comes to the older dogs, how much dragging do you do, or do you just do cart or track work, or how does it look?
No, I do drag work and track work, and I probably do less drag work than I should.
Yeah.
Some of it is laziness on my part and inconvenience. I don't necessarily like if I do it at there's a park a little ways down the street, but I don't necessarily like people watching me do drag work. Like, some people have a negative response to that, so I would like to do it where people can't see me. And where I live, it's not really always that conducive. So when I do drag, my wife says I can't do it here at the house anymore because it's about 100 yards if I go around the perimeter of my fence around my whole house, right? Dragging window weights. Well, when you're dragging 70 pounds or whatever of chain, it leaves a track in your grass. And my wife doesn't always like that. So it's, some of that is, I should load up my chain and find somewhere to go. But that's where I say it's kind of where it's an excuse to not do it. I should go down to the park and do it anyway. And I do. I've done it. But I got to load my chain in my truck, and then get there, unload my dog box. But that's all part of owning the dog and doing the sport. And I do it. I don't do it as often as I should. Some of it I use the excuses. I don't like other people watching me, like, dragging chain behind my dog. They don't know why I'm doing it. It's an American Pit Bull Terrier. You brought your dog to play Frisbee, and I don't care that your dog plays Frisbee. But please, it's not on a leash. and please keep your dog. And most of the time it is, but you always have the people that, oh, my dog's friendly.
Yeah.
Keep it friendly over by you.
Yeah,
It wants
exactly.
to just come say hi to my dog. And not that my dogs are vicious or anything, but
No.
they're dogs. And sometimes
Yeah.
they disagree with each other. And I'm trying to train my dog and you're doing. So that's one of the reasons I don't have the convenience of always being able to go somewhere where I'm not under people's view. And like I said, I don't really care what people think about me, and I've never had any issues here with people, but you always have the person that's mean or whatever, right? So I do drag work. I don't do as much as I should do. I think some of the best dogs that perform on the Weightpull track, I think they do a lot of drag work, and that also may be why maybe I get third place instead of first place, right? Right? Because I didn't put in the work. And then, but I do that. Like if I'm getting ready to get ready, like for nationals, especially, and from advice from other people, I start doing that drag work like 2 or 3 times a week, even if it's around, like I said, I'll go around my house like 10 times, which is like close to 1,000 yards, not in one pass. Like we'll go, 3 or 4 times, take a break, and then we'll, for a few seconds or 30 seconds and then move on. And so I'll do that. And then I usually go to the track for the weekend. I'll go to the track and then we'll pull weight. Like, if it's for a regular show, like we'll pull usually 2 days in a row because a weight pulls, we'll have Saturday and Sunday weight pull. So you need to, if you're going to compete for 2 days in a row, you need to practice for 2 days in a row. That's what I think. Right.
Yeah. To make the practice look more like the competition Yeah.
And
I guess, but
when I'm getting ready for a competition, and this is advice that I've gotten from other people that have been doing it longer than me, like Brian Hosfeld and Brian Dingers has given me advice, and Emmanuel, and some of these people, I was talking to Hosfeld, I believe, about it one time, and he's like, I was telling him how I was doing my track work, and I was doing track work getting ready for a show, like I was doing track work in just training. And I would do multiple reps, like, some organizations you get 3 fouls. So I would pull a weight, unhook him, roll him back, come back, pull the weight, and I'd do that like 3 times in a row and put dog weight. And one of my dogs that wasn't having great success, wasn't terrible success, but he's like, Aaron, when you're getting ready for a show, practice like it's the show. So you get up there, you put the weight on the cart, you make the pull. If the dog makes a pull, unhook him, put him in his crate, add your weight, give him a few minutes or whatever, and make another pull. And then I found that was with my dog Moses that was more effective because he's a big dog anyway, so he's pretty strong. Not that reps are bad for practice and keeping in shape, and I'm not saying that that's wrong. I'm just saying that's what I did. Is I started doing my weekend track work like it was a show. So if you made the pull till we got down to the end, and then I might do a couple in a row and give some help. But we'd add weight, make a pull, put them away. Add weight, make a pull, put them away. And, get 10 pulls out of them or whatever, which is probably about how many pulls, I think that's a good practice session if you're doing it that way. You get up at my house. Of course, every track's different. I get Moses up to, I think I got to 5 or 6 layers. And there's like 800 pounds a layer or something like that. And I learned from him that advice is like, hey, Aaron, why don't you try doing your practice at home like it's the real deal instead of 3 or 4 pulls and then put them away and then add weight and do 3 or 4 pulls. And I think they both beneficial depending on what you're trying to get out of your dog. Like I don't lift weights, but people, they go do reps and then they put them away,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, there's different applications depending on what the aim is, and I can imagine when it comes closer to the show, it's more important to train like the show with single reps on each weight.
Yeah, to replicate.
To
replicate what you're going to be doing at the show. You're not going to pull your dog 3 times at this weight and 3 times at that weight, and you'll be out. So
yeah,
and it also gives me, even though every track, carpet, everything's different, right? but it gets me an idea of where my dog is, like how much weight did he pull, which again, it depends on if your track's sitting like this or if it's sitting like this. But yeah, I think that's a good way to train the puppy that we're started. We do a lot of reps with the puppy with lighter weights, right? Because I also learned, like, what that first dog, I think I possibly, it was probably me. I think I kind of burned her out a little bit. Like I pushed her too hard, and maybe she didn't have the mental brain, and she was a Weightpull bred dog, but I'll take responsibility. I think most of that was inexperienced handler, right? Came into the sport and really, I got my first win with her, and I'm like, oh, my dog is the best, right?
Yeah.
And I found out my dog really wasn't the best, but I pushed her like she was, but yeah, I don't know.
But that's one of the hardest things is to not push when you get some success, because you get eager and you want you want more. Yeah.
And I think we'll do that one too, and I think I think it's inexperience handling, and that's 10 years I'm still there's a lot of better handlers than me, but I also listen, like try to take their advice. And if I want to ask somebody's advice and they want to help me, I want to listen and I want to try to use it. If it works for me and my dog, if I ask for someone's advice and then I don't use it, what do you expect? At least try it.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think some people run into that. Some people, I don't think I'm one of them. I think some people, their ego gets in the way of making a great dog a great dog. But
yeah, I think that's more common than we actually think, that the ego takes over. Yeah.
Yeah. And it becomes about the person and not the dog.
Yeah.
I mean, we all clap each other on the back. Good job, and we all root for the dog, but the dog did the work, right?
Yeah.
Right. But
yeah, I know. I've been there. I can be honest. I've done some extra pulls on shows that I shouldn't have done, because I know that the dog was done, but I still tried the next weight, and after a couple of times you kind of burn them out, and that's that's the ego talking. Yeah.
that's the ego. Yeah. I've done that before too. And it's a fine line, and it's, it's not like I have an overinflated or bloated ego, but it's that you get that win and that want to win. Right.
Yeah.
But you gotta pay attention to your dogs. And I think when you start to lose sight of what that dog is actually doing for you, I mean, it's dragging something heavy because you asked it to, right? That's when you can't lose sight of what that dog is, and that dog doesn't really know. I mean, I don't know if I believe that dog doesn't really know it didn't perform well. I think the dog's doing the best that it can for the most. I mean, you need to recognize how much these dogs give us, and even fifth place. I mean, I was so happy with the third place at UP. This first time I placed at a UPF Nationals, I was so happy to get a third place, right? And I got beat by plenty of dogs, even out body pounded by smaller dogs. Of you know what I mean? But I was so grateful. Like, that's all. When it was coming down, as scores start getting closer and dogs, getting heavier. The only thing I think of is, I'm not looking at the dog that's beating me right now. I'm looking at the next dog in front of me. I just got to get in front of that dog. If I can get, and not wishing that person or that dog not to perform well at all. Like, I'm, for the dog that's beating me, I'm happy. But I'm like, if I can, that dog made it in this amount of time or didn't make it. And this year, UPF Nationals, all of the dogs in Moses's class, it was really easy. They all weighed the same. There was like 5 or 6 of us in that 60-pound class. So nobody was like, oh, well, that dog's 62 pounds and I'm 60 pounds. We were all came in at 60 pounds across the board. So that, it wasn't, you didn't have to do the, call a body pound shot or anything, because you just had to make the pull. And then it came down to a couple of them. I think it was Joni, which is a super sweet lady. Do you know Joni? Albros?
Yeah. I had the latest episode was with her.
That was with you. I watched it. I didn't recognize that was you, Joni, who's super sweet, and love that gal. I think it was her and I were ended up getting in it for. I think it was for third place, and we were competing, and we were pulling the same weight, and I was like, oh, I got a tenth of a second or whatever. You're going by time then, but it was, and she was so gracious. She's a great lady. She's fun and smart and great with her dogs, and I could be wrong that it was her, but I think it was her and I that battle for third and fourth place at UPF Nationals. But yeah, it was, that's where the fun comes in, when you can compete with them, and you could still, she came over, and great job, and some friends from Mexico that beat me. I was rooting for their dogs. It was it was great.
It must be very interesting when you have a class where all the dog weighs the same.
Yeah.
When it comes down to time all the time. Yeah. It must be very exciting to compete then. Yeah.
Yeah, it either comes down to time, which I think, or it actually comes down to physical weight on the cart, right? And like I said, Moses got third this year, and I think the dog that got first might have been a dog named King. It wasn't me, so I don't remember. I didn't get first.
No.
But I think he pulled like over 1,000 more pounds than third place. So he really, he put a stamp on it. He said, "Oh, there went second and third," and So when they all weigh the same, it definitely changes the game of Weightpull for the handlers when you got when they all weigh the same, as opposed to when you have a dog that's in a weight class is lighter or heavier, and if you're heavier, you just gotta keep pulling because you gotta body pound them. So and when you're the lighter dog, you're like, okay, if I can get 3 more bricks, that means this dog will have to pull 10 more bricks. It changes the way that, and I say play the game, but the way that you handle your dog. And should I pass? Should I, might as well, if I got to get 10 more bricks, there's no reason for me to pull this 6 brick dump.
No,
because that won't get me into third place or whatever, or even ahead of the dog. So you have to, and you learn that stuff as you progress in doing Weightpull. When I first started Weightpull, really started pulling, I didn't pass around, right? And I'm just now 10 years in learning, we'll pass, we'll pass. I mean, I can do the mathematics, but I started my dogs and we'd pull, and I'm pulling. Oh, is it my turn? Oh, is it, oh yeah, pull 17 times or some stupid, you know what I mean? Yeah. But as you do it more, I think you meet the people and you learn, oh yeah, like I was giving the example, if I need 10 or 15 bricks to move into the next position to beat that lighter dog, I mean, maybe it doesn't, but I might as well just pass, because I got to get another 12 bricks to even get. So don't waste the dog's energy. And you learn that, I think, as the more you do it and you watch other people do it, and then you just learn, oh yeah, that makes sense. There's no reason to pull. So there's I use the word game to describe it, but there's a game to be played when and you meet some people that'll play the game that will just continue to pass.
Yeah.
And there's a reason why they're doing it. And I've seen people do it, and they're usually good, they're just doing good fun, like making you work for the win. But I have been with people that will have the lighter dog and they're still in it, but they'll pass and pass and pass, and then they don't pull. But they made you keep working your dog, and when you got the win, you had to appreciate the win because you worked your dog. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
for sure.
There's some good sport to that, as like putting in the work with your dog. There's always some games going on with somebody in the background somewhere.
Yeah, I really like that part. Here we do weight classes separate, so you kind of everybody joins a special holding area. So after a couple of seasons, you kind of sit around with all your friends, and it's friendly banter and tactics and that's a really, really nice part of the competitions, in my mind at least.
I think so too.
Yeah, and it's
I
always
like that.
it's always innovating when you have that guy that always passes, and you don't know when they're gonna join again or if they're gonna join again.
And they have a good dog, right?
Even worse.
When they pass and they have a good dog, like, that dog could come in. It's very possible could come in and make that pull, so you can't just count that dog out, when they have a great dog and they pass me, like, oh, please just make a pull or go out, or but I enjoy that friendly banter and camaraderie and joking around with people that after the polls or during the poll. And so usually the same people that will also come up, and like I when I first met Brian and Melinda, I was pulling my dog Sweet Pea, and he was working the cart and I was pulling Sweet Pea, and I'd been pulling for a few years now. And he'd always commented to me like, "Oh, I sure like that dog's form," right? And she was like my first, like I said, my first weight pull dog that was teaching me how to be a weight pull handler. And Brian one time bends on me, says, "Hey, Aaron, I think you're scaring the dog. Like the dog wasn't scared of me, but you're getting excited and you're yelling at the dog and not to the dog." He said, "From where I'm standing, just as advice from me to you," and I didn't really know who Brian was at the time. And it turns out he's one of the best weight pull handlers in the country, right? And he's like, "Hey, I think from where I stand, this is what I see happening." So he helped me out, and he didn't really even know me at the time. And now I have dogs off of his lines, two of my dogs are, but he's like, "Hey, there's a video, watch the video, watch what happens when you're, come on, Sweet Pea."
Yeah.
She would kind of hunker down, and he's like, "Try just being quiet. Just try that." And, those are the things that people that have experience have to offer to some of us when we first come in or been here for a long time. They might look at it from the side and go, "Hey, I'm watching you do this, and I'm watching the dogs." Maybe you don't see it when you're over top of them or beside them, but, and I think you have to be open to that.
Yeah.
I think you have to be able to take other people's advice. I think,
Yeah, at least listen to them. And as you said, when you're in it, it's very, very hard to see what's happening because you're so excited and you have if you're in front of the dog, you don't see all the signs as well as you do from the side. For example. So
sometimes for me, speaking of excited, I'll be bringing my dog down the track, and it's getting to those points of the pull, and I'll be thinking, this is how you release your dog. You always do it this way, the same way. And I believe I've learned that from people to try to do it the same way every time. Don't yell at them. Don't, try not to let that excitement, and sometimes it just goes right out the window. I release the dog and I'm like, yeah. And, I'm like, oh, I just told myself, don't do that. Don't do that. When you're at home in your backyard doing it, Aaron, there's nobody watching. There's nobody around. You just, come on, let's go,
Exactly.
And then you get here to the show and you're like, come on.
Yeah.
Sometimes it right out the window for me. I don't know. Not enough discipline on the handler, I guess.
No. And it shows that it's way harder than people think, just even to handle. You can train the dog so it's super strong and it knows exactly what to do. But once you as a handler doesn't really perform as you should, then the dog can't really perform either. So that
people are over the years with dogs and people, people you see on TV or even people, I do think that the dogs respond to our emotions, right? Like, I believe, like, if you're in a like super stressed out about your dog performing well, and it somehow projects into your dog, like your dog feels that anxiety that you might have. And I think if we can keep that in check as handlers, whether you're doing the other sporting events, doing top, like my wife, her dog Esther is a phenomenal top dog. We won ADBA nationals top dog this year. Super fast on the mill. There's other dogs that are great too. She lost to some across the country and she won some, but over at the end of the year at the nationals, she won great dog. Esther is an amazing dog. She's won the UPF mill race nationals 2 years in a row. Super, like, I call her the fastest dog in the country. At least that competed in those events at that time. Sometimes my wife gets super amped up before it even starts. And, you kind of, I think that translates into the Weightpull track too. Like if you don't believe in your dog, like, not going to get this pull,
No.
I think it might get the pull, but I think it would be more helpful if you believed in your dog. Like if me as a person, if I'm feeling down or anxiety or super excited, I think the dog sense that. I believe that's probably some study somebody has figured out that it really is. They say it translates right down the leash, from your hand to your leash, your how you feel about it. So I think trying not to get yourself too worked up before you get up to the track and let your dog go, even though that like some of these guys with these phenomenal dogs like Haasvelds and Funnyman Kennels and John Martin, and the list could go on. I don't want everyone to leave anybody out. I don't think their dogs are phenomenal, but you watch some of these the top Weightpull dogs that are stomping it out. They've got that figured out, how to keep that emotion in check, and they are wound up on the inside, but you don't see it. You see Emmanuel, he does his everybody has their own how they get their dog to go and what keeps them engaged, and that's kind of cool too, how you watch different handlers. Some people say nothing, let's go, and they let it go. Some people it's like a cadence, a clap every time, you know what I mean? And they call the dog's name. Some people, come on, let's go. And, it's fun to watch what works for them and that particular dog. They might have 4 or 5 dogs, and this might be what they do with that dog. And, and it's same with my dogs. They're not all, I don't release them all the same way on the track. Now, this new puppy that we got, that Book of Ruth, that's going to be my wife's pull dog. And I think she's going to be a pretty phenomenal little pull dog for sure. But being released by her, she does it her way, right? And I don't step in much because she's perfectly capable. I'm not stealing her thunder at all, because if you met my wife, you ain't stealing her thunder. But but my other dogs, they're one of them I release. I hold the harness and walk it up and let him go. And one dog, I put the tracer rope. It gets that foot of slack or whatever, and it's bent right behind. I hold him back, and I say what I say, and he gets hunkered down, and he hits out of it like he was on fire.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not good, maybe it is, but that's how he engages the cart. And it all translates, individual dog, individual person, how the dog, like, I could pull Dina's dog, but she could probably pull my dog.
Yeah.
But does it work better? Because again, it goes back to that, the same way every time, walk my dog down the track the same way. I do the same silly little with Moses. I walk him down the track. He stops about, for whatever reason, 2 or 3 feet before we get to where we need to be. He stops there for a minute. I give him a little pull on the leash. His head comes up to me. I lift up his head. I pet the bottom, rub the top of his head, turn him around, hook him up, and let him go. Same way every time. I do the same thing with him every time.
Yeah.
It's our routine, I don't know what he would do if I just went down there, hooked him up, and let him go. I don't know.
He wouldn't know what to do, I think. Because,
Right. Because it's the way they were trained, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
the hard part is to remember when you have a lot of dogs. how how to do it with each dog.
Yeah, what dog gets released what way? Like I've caught myself like at a show and be pulling Esther and Moses and whatever, and I get it behind Esther and I'm standing on the wrong side of her, which maybe she doesn't know the difference, but I do. And then it goes back into, oh, I'm on the wrong side, And yeah.
And it might be as you said, they kind of connect to your feelings and your mindset at the moment, and if you get confused or feel that you have done something wrong, then they feel that and they get confused, and then it's just the whole thing. So it's better just to make sure that you do it correct every time.
Yeah, the same way every time. Even if it was incorrect, if you're doing it wrong every time, keep doing it wrong. No, but just keep it consistent.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, I think it was you I saw I think it was one of the Bullimax show videos that you're kind of a builder. At least in the last one, I saw you climb all the way up, but you're kind of a builder. Is that true?
I've it's like a little side. I don't know, not really a hustle, because I don't make a lot of money at it, because I do make some money off of building, but I've built weight pull tracks, and I built some dog kennels for some people, and I built the wall climb walls. So I'll fabricate something together for somebody, build a weight pull track, and it's not that I lose money on them, but you don't make a whole bunch. It takes a little bit of time, and you got to be able to put it together and weld it. But I enjoy doing, like, if I could probably, what I've done for a living for almost 40 years now, I'm kind of burnt out on, because I've done it for 40 years, right? Yeah. If I could figure out how to make a living and have a shop of doing fabrication and welding and become better at that, that would be fun to me. Yeah. Probably till I did it for a living, and then it would be like a job and I wouldn't like it as much anymore. I think that wall I built for UPF came out really nice. I don't think anybody had any complaints about it. And I've built, I don't know, built and sold 4 or 5 weight pull tracks across the country here, and usually take them and deliver them to a show when I go to a show and meet people. So I've done a little bit of that. Yeah.
What's the hardest thing about building a weight pull track?
The last one. The last one, I didn't really test it before I delivered it, which was, and it actually, I took it to a show. So the first time it was getting used was at a show. And I fabricated, when I put one of the casters on the cart, I had gotten it, like, not this drastically cocked, but it was not sitting straight. So when it went down as the weight got onto this track, it started dragging that wheel down which was, I felt terrible. Yeah. I felt totally responsible for ruining this weight pull, and everybody was understandable, and it was cool. We fixed it. He got it fixed. We cut the wheel, sent it, but that was the hardest part of that one, is that whatever goes wrong, that's the hardest part about it, because I feel personally responsible, because I built it, and I feel like I let somebody down if I build something and it doesn't meet what I think should be the best standards. Like, I'm not a perfectionist, but I don't want it to fail. Like, so whatever happened that went wrong, whether it was a dinger on the side that fell off as you went by the full mark, but that one was a real, like, and it went to Emmanuel. Emmanuel bought that track for me. I met him in Oklahoma for the pull, and we put it together, and I was super let down with myself, like, really, really disappointed, because, I was responsible. The man paid me money to build him a track, and it was delivered subpar, not okay. So that was, I wanted to bawl over the deal, to be honest with you. I felt that terrible about it. But, and Emmanuel, he's like, Aaron, it's perfect. Don't worry about it. Well, I told him, you know what, I'll buy it back from you right now. I'll take it home. And he's like, no. I said, well, I'll take the cart back home and I'll fix it. He said, don't worry about it, Aaron. I'll take it home. My uncle and me can do this stuff. And he just cut the wheel off of it, recentered the wheel, and it was perfect. But the way I felt about it was,
Yeah.
I felt
Yeah.
like that,
I
like,
can imagine. Yeah.
it was, so that was terrible. So the hardest part is whatever goes wrong that you didn't know was going to go wrong. That's the hardest part. The other stuff is, I'm a diesel mechanic, right?
Yeah.
So I've been in the industry for almost 40 years. So putting things together and building things, like not necessarily fabrication, it's a whole different like set of measurements and what you do, but I'm pretty handy with doing things with my hands, right? With building things or whatever. So building it and putting it together, that's not hard. Messing something up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. So I was the wall climb wall that I built for UPF. I tested it in my yard, put it up before I delivered. Let my dog jump on it enough times not to tear the front, but to make sure that it all performed well. And I think everybody loved it. I think it was great.
Yeah.
I'd build another one for somebody, one of those any day. And I enjoy doing that stuff. I like and like I said, I built some dog kennels for some friends up in Washington. They wanted 3x6, and I made them so they could all come apart and be stacked up, and then we put them together and put little dividers in between so the dogs had blinders so they could be side by side but couldn't see out the front or the side. Yeah, those came out really well. It's on I have a page. It's called Power Stroke Kennels. It's on Facebook, which is separate from my regular Facebook page, but it all usually has dogs on any of it. But Power Stroke Kennels would be the page that has if people were interested in any of that stuff.
Well, maybe one or two or even more than that are interesting. So I'm gonna put a link in the descriptions here to that page just to make sure. Yeah. Awesome. Well, is there anything that you would like to say to especially the Scandinavian audience, but also the European audience when it comes to weight pulling?
I don't know if I don't know if there's anything special to say, but I think if you're new and you're looking to get into this sport, I think you'll find it rewarding. If you like dogs, don't give up. Don't give up. Don't be too hard on yourself. It's just a sport. It's just a sport. But enjoy it to the best you can, and enjoy your dogs and enjoy the people that are around you. No matter what it may not be the same over there. No matter what their political belief or whatever they believe in, we're just people in a world spinning around. Just try to get along with everybody. Go there, enjoy yourselves, and if you want to progress in the sport, if you're new, find people that are doing good and doing what you like to do and talk with them. And I think it's been my experience. They've always been receptive to me. Don't go in there acting like you know it all if you don't. And if you do, don't go around telling everybody that you know it all. If that makes sense.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Just try and enjoy it.
Yeah. That's really good advice for everybody. Try to enjoy it, and no matter what people's belief are, if they like weight pulling and they like dogs, and then they are people that you can hang out with.
You can relate with.
Yeah. For sure.
Yep.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Aaron, for being a good sport and doing this. It's been a pleasure talking to you. Oh,
can you see that?
Yeah.
All right. I love my dogs.
You love your dogs. We can see that a lot. Yeah. Awesome. Perfect. And with that, I think we are done for this time at least. Yeah.
Well, thanks for having me on.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
All right. Have a good evening.
Good evening. Bye.